We're here because free speech is under attack. We're here because people are being convinced that socialism works. We're here because people are being judged guilty until proven innocent. We are fighting back with facts. This is not a safe zone, so buckle up, Buttercup. This is the raw, naked truth.
Harris finally sits down for an interview. Dead hostages recovered from Hamas. Gold Star families defend Trump, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. CNN's primetime interview with Kamala Harris and running mate Tim Walz, the Democratic ticket's first interview since President Joe Biden stepped down from his re-election campaign, drew a total audience of more than 6 million viewers Thursday night, making the interview the top-rated show in television on that night. The 45-minute interview was edited down to 18 minutes, in which Harris dodged softball questions and gave no concrete ideas of how her administration would differ from her ultra-liberal comments, despite claiming to have changed her positions. Post-interview polls have shown a drop in support for the Democratic ticket. MSNBC host Chris Hayes fumed over new poll results showing former President Trump as the favorite to win the Electoral College and therefore the presidency in November. On his X account Friday, the All In with Chris Hayes anchor blasted recent poll results from Nate Silver, showing Harris would win the popular vote, though Trump would win the Electoral College. It's clear as day the Electoral College is a national suicide pact, Hayes posted. The Electoral College was created to ensure that voters from less populated rural areas were not controlled by high-population states like California has become. Gold Star families launched a scathing defense attack against Vice President Kamala Harris over Labor Day weekend after the Democratic nominee claimed that Trump had disrespected sacred ground at Arlington National Cemetery. You should be ashamed and embarrassed about your lack of empathy and decency as a human being, Darren Hoover, the father of Marine Staff Sergeant Taylor Hoover, said in a video shared by Trump and directed at Harris. You are only in this for the power and prestige. You don't care for our military or our citizens of this country. Hoover was one of the 8 Gold Star family members who recorded video messages published on Trump's X account slamming Harris for claiming that Trump had disrespected sacred ground last week at Arlington National Cemetery on the anniversary of the Biden-Harris's administration botched withdrawal from Afghanistan that left 13 U.S. service members killed. Trump joined Gold Star families at the National Cemetery in Virginia last Monday for a wreath-laying ceremony to honor the 13 service members who were killed during the terrorist attack at Abbey Gate outside Kabul's Hamid Karzai International Airport on August 26, 2021. Families of those who died said they had invited Trump to the public event and also had approved a Trump campaign photographer to record the event. Both Biden and Harris were invited to the event, and neither one showed. The bodies of 6 Hamas-held hostages are confirmed after recovery from underground tunnels, including an American. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu mourned the deaths of 6 hostages whose bodies were recovered in Gaza this weekend. The 5 Israelis and 1 Israeli American were confirmed dead on Saturday, with the IDF saying they appeared to have been murdered shortly before Israeli forces arrived. Together with the entire nation, my wife and I share in the family's deep mourning. I would like to express deep appreciation for our forces, for the brave IDF soldiers and ISA fighters who risked their lives in order to return our sons and daughters, Netanyahu said. I say to the Hamas terrorists who murdered our hostages, and I say to their leaders, you will pay the price. We will not rest, nor will we be silent. We will pursue you. We will find you, and we will settle accounts with you, he continued. The Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, is facing a barrage of criticism for failing to explicitly condemn the Hamas terrorist movement for its murders of one American and 5 Israeli citizens on Saturday. Israeli Defense Forces were looking to rescue the 6 hostages held by Hamas, including Israeli-American Hersh Goldberg Polin, in the tunnel system below Gaza's Rafah city, but instead found all 6 murdered at the hands of the terrorist group. The Times of Israel, quoting Israel's Ministry of Health, reported that the hostages had been murdered between Thursday and Friday morning. Guterres wrote on X, "I will never forget my meeting last October with the parents of Hersh Goldberg Polin and other hostage families. Today's tragic news is a devastating reminder of the need for the unconditional release of all hostages and an end to the nightmare of war in Gaza." Jeff Waltz, the brother of vice presidential candidate Tim Waltz, may be hitting the campaign trail for Donald Trump. Democratic vice presidential candidate Tim Waltz is not the type of character who should make decisions about America's future, his older brothers warned in a series of damning Facebook comments this week. "I'm 100% opposed to all his ideology," Jeff Waltz declared Friday evening about the far-left Minnesota governor and running mate of Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris. He has so little faith in his little brother, Jeff Waltz is considering publicly endorsing former President Donald Trump's White House run, he told a Facebook poster who urged him to get on stage with President Trump and endorse him. Waltz has already donated to the Trump campaign. Chinese government-backed trolls are targeting U.S. voters ahead of the 2024 presidential election, assuming fake identities of politically engaged voters on social media to promote divisive narratives around issues including gun control, racial inequality, and the Israel-Hamas war, according to new research. The propaganda push, which researchers attributed to a prolific influence network known as Spamouflage that has been previously linked to the Chinese government, has sought to undermine confidence in U.S. elections, a new report said. The push has been somewhat agnostic on the candidates themselves, targeting former President Donald Trump and both Democratic presidential nominees, Vice President Kamala Harris and President Biden, before he exited the race. One of the world's largest covert online influence operations, an operation run by Chinese state-linked actors, has become more aggressive in its efforts to infiltrate and sway U.S. political conversations ahead of the election, said Jack Stubbs, chief intelligence officer at the research firm Graphica, which published the report Tuesday on Spamouflage's alleged activities. Thousands of workers at 25 hotels across the country remained on strike for a second day on Monday, demanding higher pay and the reversal of pandemic-era cuts, with members in more cities expected to join the strike. On Sunday, around 10,000 hotel workers walked off the job, kicking off the strike during the busy Labor Day weekend at 25 hotels in 8 cities, including San Diego, Seattle, San Francisco, Boston, and Honolulu. The workers are represented by the Unite Here union and work for the Marriott, Hilton, and Hyatt hotel chains. In a statement, Unite Here said the workers are striking after months of unresolved negotiations. Michael D'Angelo, Hyatt's head of labor relations in the Americas, said in a statement to Barron's that our colleagues are the heart of our business, and Hyatt has a long history of cooperation with the unions that represent our employees, including Unite Here. We are disappointed that Unite Here has chosen to strike while Hyatt remains willing to negotiate. We look forward to continuing to negotiate fair contracts and recognize the contributions of Hyatt employees. A Hilton spokesperson told Barron's in an email that the company makes every effort to maintain a cooperative and productive relationship with the unions that represent some of our team members. We remain committed to negotiating in good faith to reach fair and reasonable agreements that are beneficial to both our valued team members and to our hotels. Marriott Hotels so far has made no comment. That's the Raw Naked Truth. You can catch every episode of the Raw Naked Truth at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.